Okay, welcome. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Seahawk Boys Fearless and Stupid YouTube channel. It's time for another video. Just did one yesterday, but it's time for a Seahawk Boys two-round NFL mock draft. And, everybody's out there doing mock drafts. They all have the same stupid picks. They're all picking offensive guards for the Seahawks at 16. And my thing is, hey, what the hell? There's no point in doing a Seahawks mock draft if you're just going to do the same thing as everybody else. So today we have a secret plan in our two-round mock draft to do something kind of unusual, kind of extraordinary for the Seattle Seahawks. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back. I am your guy, Seahawk boy Mike Barra, and I am probably the only person on the internet right now who actually has the Seahawks' best interests at heart. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a two-round mock draft with trades. We're going to look not only at our team, but we're going to make the pick for every single team out there, and it is going to be. You know what? It's got to be different. It's got to be Seahawk boy Mike. Okay, there we go. That's better. Now I'm going to be Seahawk boy Mike. So today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to pick for every team. We're not just going to pick Seahawks picks and let the computer do the rest because the computer is stupid and it does dumb things. We're going to do some things that we're hearing about that we think is kind of interesting, that I think is kind of interesting. And we're going to use the Sportskeeda Tony Pauline NFL Draft Simulator this time. We're going to go with two rounds. We're going to pick for all the teams, and we are going to make some trades. So let's get into the draft and see what happens. Okay, first up is the very first pick is the Chicago Bears. Now, again, I'm going to go with Pat Kerwin's little bit of info from Friday, which is that he's hearing that the Chicago Bears are very sour on Caleb Williams, that they don't like Caleb Williams, and in fact, they would like to not draft him. They don't think he's mature. They think he's another Cam Newton with a bad attitude and somebody that they don't really want to draft. So Williams himself seems to be really hurting himself at his chances of going number one because he wants to go somewhere. I think he's a fool. I think Chicago's got a great situation. They've got picks. The other thing is Chicago's only got 4 picks in this draft, so they want to acquire some more picks, and the way to do that is to do a trade. So we're going to do a trade proposal. We're going to propose that New England comes up to number 1 to Chicago. The price is not going to be high because the player that Chicago wants is going to be there at number 3. So we're going to propose 3, 34, and 68 for number 1, and it's been rejected. So we again have to do the thing. We have to flip-flop it. We have to go with Chicago, trading with the Patriots. I don't know why it does this exact same process. Propose, accepted, bang. The New England Patriots come up to number 1. They take Caleb Williams. That's the guy they want. Number 2, Jaden Daniels, the quarterback from LSU, goes to the Washington Redskins. I think he's overrated. I really do. I wanted to today I did something over on my Seahawk Boy Twitter. I put out my top quarterbacks for the last couple seasons. Let's slide over there real quick. Let's slide over and show this tab instead. And I want to just go on for the record, last year, my quarterback rankings were CJ Stroud was QB1, Anthony Richardson was QB2, Will Levis was QB3, Bryce Young was QB4, and I had Hendon Hooker as QB5. Would have been happy for the Seahawks to take any one of these guys. They wouldn't really need to be drafting a young quarterback this year, but that is not the case. So just for the record, as we go back and look now and that's all. You could go to Mike Bear 333 and you can go back into my Twitter past and you can look and see that that is what I was saying a year ago at this time. But for 2024, I want to let you know that in terms of fits for the Seahawks, my preference, I have Michael Penix as QB1. I think he's going to be a better professional quarterback than Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams. He won't make as many plays with his legs, but he could make some plays with the legs. And he's a better arm talent than either one of those guys. So I have him as QB1. I have Jaden Daniels as QB2. I have Caleb Williams as QB3. I have Spencer Rattler as QB4. I think the guy is amazing. He's 6 feet tall. He's a little bit short, but he can do all kinds of things with his arms, his legs. His footwork is phenomenal. His accuracy. I'd love to have Spencer Rattler on the Seahawks if we stick at 16 or if we drop down into the 20s and take a player. Drake May is my QB5, Bo Nix is QB6, and JJ McCarthy is QB7. I'm not saying this is where these guys are going to go, and we're going to do this we're going to do the draft based on what we kind of think other teams are going to do. But JJ McCarthy, I don't see him as a top 5 quarterback. I don't see him as a top 10 quarterback. I just don't see that at all. And I don't see him as a first rounder, but he is going to go somewhere. Somebody's going to take him. And regardless of that, we're going to just go on and say, okay, that's what other teams think. So who do the Bears like at number 3? Is it JJ McCarthy? No, it's not. Apparently it's Drake May from North Carolina. I can't believe after the Mitchell Trubisky fiasco that they're going to go ahead and take Drake May, but it sounds like that's exactly what they're going to do. Now we come to pick number 4, where there's more trade options here. Now the Cardinals have a number of picks in this draft. Their number 1 need is considered to be wide receiver. They could take the best wide receiver in the draft right here. So will they trade or will they not trade? A lot of people think they will. I wouldn't be surprised if they stick at 4 and just take Marvin Harrison. But I know Jim Miller had basically the Denver Broncos trading up to this spot to take JJ McCarthy. But I don't think that's going to happen. I as I look at it, I think the Vikings have more juice to trade up to the number 4 pick. So we are going to do a trade proposal, but it's going to be the Vikings, not the Broncos. So we're going to propose Arizona trades with Minnesota, and it's going to be 4 for 11 and 23 and 108. That should get it done. It's going to be rejected, so we're going to try it again. This time we're going to go Minnesota trades with Arizona, and we're going to go with 11, 23, 108 for 4. And this time it's going to be accepted. So the Vikings jump up to number 4. They get the guy that they want, the quarterback that they're looking for, JJ McCarthy of Michigan. I think this is a stupid pick. I think they should just wait at number 11 and take whoever's there. Nevertheless, they're going to do it. Now, they just have more. They have more in this draft to give the Cardinals, and this is a pretty good draft through rounds 2 and 3. So now the Cardinals, if you look at their situation, the Cardinals have 11, 23, 27, and 35. That's just in the first 2 rounds. They also have a 3rd round pick in there. So they're in great shape to really reshape their team. Now the Chargers come in. Their number 1 need is a wide receiver. The number 1 wide receiver on the board is Marvin Harrison Jr., but there are people who they seem to think that the Chargers are going to draft Malik Neighbors. So that's the guy we're going to give them, okay? The Giants now come up. Their number 1 need is wide receiver. They would have been happy with Neighbors. They would have been happy with Rome Odunze. They're not going to do either one of those things. They're going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. Boom, they're going to snap him up. Now, there's another trade. Is Denver coming up? Who's coming up? Denver? No, maybe not. I think Denver at this point, if you look at the quarterbacks that are left, you got Penix, who doesn't fit with Denver. You got Bo Nix. You got Spencer Rattler. Those guys might be better fits for what the Broncos do. So I got a feeling the Broncos are just going to sit there. So somebody else is going to trade with the Tennessee Titans. Who is that going to be? It's going to be your guys, my guys, the Seattle Seahawks. are going to trade with the Tennessee Titans, and they're going to offer this year's first round pick and next year's first round pick for 7. Now, why would the Titans do this? Because they can get a blue chip elite player here, but what they really need is a tackle. You notice we're at the 7th pick. No tackles have gone yet. They are still going to be able to pick and choose from among some really high quality tackles and pick up a first round pick next year from the Seahawks. So they make this trade. It's been rejected. So have to flip it again. Propose the trade. Tennessee trades with Seattle. Maybe what have I not got this memorized? And now it'll be accepted. Okay, Seattle pops up to 7. Who are they taking? They're taking my QB1 on the board. They're taking the guy that fits perfectly for them. Ben Grubb or Ryan Grubb gets his guy. Mike McDonald gets his guy. Finally, we get a quarterback of the future on this team, Michael Penix Jr. And he doesn't have to start right away because we have Geno. And we have Sam Howell. So Geno is going to play out this year as the starter. At some point, he'll stumble or he'll get injured. Boom. Michael Penix Jr. is going to come in at that point. He's going to play 4, 5, 6 games. And then next year, it's going to be Sam Howell and Michael Penix at the quarterback position. And we actually now have a chance to contend for a Super Bowl. Now, is that a doable price? Absolutely. I've checked. That would be the value. Moving from 16 to 7 would be a first-round pick next year, about the 16th pick. When you trade picks for the previous year, they're valued at the middle of the round that you're trading. In other words, when the Seahawks offer a 2025 first-round pick in terms of points, it's considered the 16th pick. So they traded 16 and 16 to get to 7. They got their guy. They got Michael Penix Jr. They beat out the Broncos, who are the other quarterback desperate team in this draft. And the Seahawks still have the same number of picks in the 3rd round and 4th and 5th that they would have had otherwise. So Michael Penix Jr. goes to the Seattle Seahawks. John Schneider looks like a genius for holding out and getting the guy he wants. And now we can worry about position players. You know, people think the Seahawks should just stick at 16 and take a position player. Well, that's what we've been doing for the last 2 fucking years. We've taken 19 position players in the last 2 years, and the team's not any better. So do you really think a guard like Fatanu is going to make a difference in terms of how many games we win? No, it's not. All right, Atlanta Falcons are next. The edges are up. This is not even a tough call. Dallas Turner, the edge from Alabama, goes to the Atlanta Falcons. Fits a perfect need. Now, the Chicago Bears have 2 options here. They can either take a receiver or a tight end. The 2 best players on this board are Brock Bowers, the tight end from Georgia, and Rome Odunze, the wide receiver from Washington. They already have a pretty good tight end there in who's the Bears tight end? I forget his name, but he's a good player. And although Bowers might be the better player, Rome Odunze has... Now, people think they're going to take an edge. I don't think they're going to do that. When you draft a new quarterback, Drake May, you want to give him weapons. They've already got DJ Moore. Now they're going to add to that. DJ Moore's got 6 or 7 years in this league. You've got to have a guy coming up behind him. Rome Odunze, the gigantic wide receiver from Washington with the amazing speed. The DK Metcalf of this draft is going to pop up onto the board with Chicago. And I think that, you know, these players are just too good for Chicago to pass on, and they picked up some extra picks. They've already got some seconds and thirds. What do they have? They have 2 picks. They have 34 in the 2nd round that they didn't have before, and they picked up a 3rd round pick. So the Bears are going to be a better football team. Now comes the Jets. They don't hesitate. They're all in for this year. They are absolutely committed to this year. They're committed to Aaron Rodgers. They're going to get him another weapon. They're going to get him the best tight end prospect in quite a while, Brock Bowers of Georgia. Okay, now come the Cardinals. The Cardinals have needs at wide receiver, defensive tackle, cornerback, offensive guard, edge. Jared Verse is there, but that's not that high. That's not that high a need. All of the offensive tackles are still on the board. But they're looking at this going, you know, there's a lot of tackles in this draft. We can get a tackle at 23. We can get a tackle at 27. we're not going to take one of the tackles, even though we get the top tackle off the board. Are we going to then take Chop Robinson or Jared Verse, the edge? That fills an important need. Or are we going to build around Kyler Murray and get ourselves a wide receiver? No, we're not going to do that. What we're going to do is, at number 11, I keep saying 12. Number 11, they're going to take an unusual player. There aren't very many defensive tackles in this draft. So they are going to try to hope that they get lucky with the next Aaron Donald and take Byron Murphy II, the defensive tackle from Texas. It fits a need. Now we're sitting here at the Denver Broncos. Yeah, they missed out on the 4th overall pick. The Vikings leapfrogged them. And the Vikings might have to give up a little more than they gave up. They might have to give up a little more than 11, 23, and 108. They probably have to give up something next year, but it worked. And they got beat out by the Seahawks. They did not expect the Seahawks to jump up to Tennessee's pick and take Michael Penix Jr., but that's okay because they didn't want Michael Penix Jr. anyway. Now, they're going to be sitting here going, gosh, is there anybody here that we could trade with? Anybody who would want to come up for this pick, but for what? Where's the desperate needs of anybody in here? There's nobody. I don't think they can find a trading partner. I think they go with the quarterback. I think they take Bo Nix, who is the Sean Payton type of player. They sit at number 12, and they take Bo Nix, and they have their quarterback in the future. Now, a lot of people think the Raiders are in for a quarterback. But again, one of the things that came out of Jim Miller and Pat Kerwin's show on Friday was that the Raiders don't agree. They have 2 quarterbacks. They have the young guy from Purdue that they really like, and they have Gardner Minshew. So they're looking to improve their team overall. None of the offensive tackles have come off the board yet. The question is, which one will they take? Well, the best one out there is Talise Fuaga from Oregon State. He goes number 13 to the Raiders. Now, number 14, guess what? Who needs a tackle? Well, the New Orleans Saints do. They're going to take Joe Alt from Notre Dame, the next best tackle on the list. Olu Fashanu is a great player, too. Now we come to the Baltimore Colts, the Indianapolis Colts. Their top needs are wide receiver, cornerback, safety, edge. They could take the number 4 wide receiver here in Brian Thomas, or they could take, and do they have another pick? Yeah, they pick again at 46. Or they could take one of the top tackles, or they have their pick of the cornerbacks. Now, I don't rank cornerback in the first round. There's only 2 corners that are considered first round players here. Terrion Arnold and Quinyon Mitchell are considered top corners. Let's see, he's 6 feet, and I think Terrion Arnold is also a 6-footer. Yeah, they're both 6 feet. They're just going to take the first corner available, which is Quinyon Mitchell, and they're going to put him on their team as their number 2 need. And boom, he goes to the Indianapolis Colts. Now, the Tennessee Titans are up. They traded back because they know they can still get a great tackle. They're going to take Olu Fashanu from Penn State to fill out their offensive line. That was one of their top needs. Now we come to the Jaguars, also a team in need of a corner. They're not going to wait. They're going to take Terrion Arnold. And again, this is about where these 2 corners are drafted, but there's no other corners really worth taking in the first round. You have to really, really have a need. Now, the Bengals, they're sitting there at number 18, and 2 guys that are top 10 players have dropped into their laps. If you look at Rob Staten's big board, let's slide over there and take a look. If you look at his big board, he's got Chop Robinson, Jared Verse, Liatu Latu, Dallas Turner as legit first round guys, but he's got Chop Robinson and Jared Verse as elite guys, blue chip guys. So I hate to do this for the Bengals because I think I want to take an offensive lineman, but there are a lot of good offensive linemen in this draft. So I think we have to go with Jared Verse, the elite edge guy there, even though they don't need it. That leaves Indianapolis has a chance to then the Rams have a chance to draft somebody that could really help them. They wanted Byron Murphy to replace Aaron Donald on their defensive line, but they're smart. They've been looking at defensive linemen. They've been picking them up. They're going to take Chop Robinson. They're not even going to hesitate. Next up, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They need a center. They need a tackle. They need a guard. How about a guy that can play all 3 of those positions? Troy Fatanu of Washington can be a guard. He could be at either one of the tackle spots. He's going to help the Pittsburgh Steelers on the interior. That really breaks the hearts of the Miami Dolphins, because they need an offensive guard, they need a tackle. They wanted Fatanu. They're not going to get him. They're going to have to settle for one of the other tackles. The guy they're going to take is Tyler Guyton of Oklahoma. Big, tough dude. Now, we come to the Philadelphia Eagles. Their needs are cornerback, linebacker, safety, wide receiver, edge. Wide receiver would make a lot of sense, but I see the Cardinals here as saying, look, we want the wide receiver, so I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to make you a trade offer. We're going to slide up one spot. Arizona is going to trade with Philadelphia, and it's going to be 23 and 104 for 22. I don't know if this trade's going to go through or not. Let's try it. Oh, it's been rejected. Okay, let's try it again. This time we're going to go Philadelphia and Arizona. Do I just like not? Am I not paying attention? It's still been rejected. Okay, let's try it again. Maybe we have to give a little more. Arizona to Philadelphia. We're going to try it one more time. 23 and 90 for 22. Trade's been accepted. Okay, so we flip-flop. We come up 1 point. We take Brian Thomas Jr., the wide receiver. That fills our second biggest need. Now, the Eagles can take a corner if they want, but there's no corners we're taking here. They can take a linebacker, but there's no linebackers we're taking. Who are they going to take? Who is the best player that they could put on their team right now? And I think it's Jerry Newton, the defensive tackle, goes to the Eagles at 23. At 24, Dallas Cowboys are up. They have Tyler, somebody who's a really good tackle, but he's a right tackle. They need a left tackle. They need somebody who can play different positions along the offensive line. The guy that they liked on the Sirius XM draft for the Cowboys that they felt like they were really interested in is Graham Barton. He's listed as a guard. He can also play center. He can also play right tackle. A guy with versatility. Graham Barton goes to the Dallas Cowboys. Now the Packers are up. Their top needs are linebacker, corner, offensive guard, offensive tackle. Hey, the reality is there's no linebackers or corners that you should really be taking here. They're going to go with Amarius Mims, the offensive tackle from Georgia. That leaves us to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Who are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going to take? Well, it'd be great to get some offensive help for Baker Mayfield, but there is an edge guy here. Liatu Latu fills their number one need from UCLA, formerly of Washington. He's going to go there. Cardinals are back on again. Cardinals are back on again. Their top needs are wide receiver, defensive tackle, cornerback, offensive guard, and edge. They've already taken the defensive tackle. They've already taken a wide receiver. So they could take a corner here, but again, it's a reach to take a corner at this point in the first round. The best players on the board are guys like J.C. Latham, Jackson Powers Johnson, and guess what? That's where they're going to go. They're going to take Jackson Powers Johnson. They're going to play him at center or guard. He's going to protect Kyler Murray, and they have now quietly begin to build a really, really solid footing for improving their football team. I'm glad the Seahawks made the move for Penix, because without that upside at the quarterback position, the Seahawks are going to fall behind the Cardinals pretty quickly, because they are really stacking up the picks and stacking up the players. Now we come to the Buffalo Bills. They got multiple needs. They've got wide receiver, safety, edge. I'm trying to look at these guys that might be worth taking here. I don't know that I see anybody really, really worth taking in that range. I think that, though, the best thing they can do is probably take the receiver they need. Donai Mitchell goes to the Buffalo Bills. Now we come to the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions, their needs are edge, cornerback, defensive tackle, offensive guard, wide receiver. Gosh. There's a guy out there who's a tackle, J.C. Latham, who's big, who's strong, has terrific fundamentals, could be converted to guard. I think they're going to take him because he's just too good a player. They need to find another edge to pair with Aiden Hutchinson, but not in the first round. Now the Baltimore Ravens come up. They need a wide receiver. They need an edge. They need a safety. There's really nobody in here that's that great a fit for them in terms of those positions, but they're going to reach a little bit and take Troy Franklin, the wide receiver from Oregon. Now the 49ers. What are the 49ers going to do? Well, they're going to sit there. They're going to say to themselves, look, we have lots of we don't have lots of needs, but we have some places we'd like to shore up. Troy Brown is ancient at left tackle. They need to get a guy in there that can play tackle. Jordan Morgan of Arizona is somebody that they're supposedly like who could potentially play left tackle. They're going to fill that need right there. Kansas City is on the board. Now it's time for a corner. They're going to go for Nate Wiggins. Their number one need is corner because they got rid of Darius Sneed. They had to move him out because of salary cap reasons. They're going to replace him. They could go wide receiver, but they're going to go. I think they're going to go corner, wide receiver in their first two picks, or wide receiver corner. It's going to go one of those two ways. Now we come to round two, and we jump up to round two, and the Panthers are on the clock. They're at 33. They also have 39, but there is one. There's a possibility of this pick being traded. It frequently is because of the overnight discussions that go on in between the days of the draft. But I don't know that I see anybody who's desperate for a quarterback who didn't get a quarterback in that first round. Everybody got one. I could see the Seahawks trading 2025s. I could see the Seahawks sticking at 16, taking somebody else. It's even possible that Penix makes it to 16, although I think it's highly unlikely. And then trading next year's first round pick to get their quarterback here if they didn't get him at 16. That might be a smarter way to go. They may say we're going to take Fatanu at 16, and then at 33 we're going to trade back into the first round or into the second round and take Penix if he's there, but I don't think that's going to happen. So who are they left with now? The Panthers, they want to do some things to build around Bryce Young. They've already got some offensive guards. They spent $54 million on Damian Lewis of the Seahawks and another guard. They're not going to take an offensive lineman here. They're going to take Xavier Worthy, the wide receiver from Texas. Now Chicago is on the board again. They've already taken Drake May, the quarterback, and the wide receiver Rome Odunze from Washington. The best guys up here are probably offensive tackles right now, but they are going to surprise. Well, they're not going to really surprise anybody. They're going to take the next best edge. Darius Robinson fills a need for them. Now we come to the Cardinals. Look at what they've done so far. Byron Murphy, solid pick at number 11. Brian Thomas, the wide receiver at 22. Jackson Powers Johnson at 27. If you go offense, defense, it makes a certain amount of sense to go defense right here. I think that they need to look at the corner position. We'll go with Cooper DeJean, actually, the corner / safety, because he can play a couple different positions. Excuse me. Maybe spell Buda Baker as they get ready to move on from him. He's the Buda Baker type player for their defense. Now, the Washington Redskins, they took Jaden Daniels top, and again, in the context of wanting to basically support the player you just take, they're going to take Kingsley Sumiatia, the offensive tackle. They took their top two needs were quarterback and tackle. They just filled them both. The Chargers are now on the board. They need a wide receiver. They got one in the first round. They need a corner. They need a center. I can see them jumping ahead here, having gone offense in the first round. I think they come back with defense in the second round. They take Kool-Aid McKinstry. And this is where the corners should be going, is in this late first, early second round area. So Titans got their tackle in the first round. They got their they didn't get a tight end or a they could be looking for something on offense this time around. I say they go out and they get a tight end and they reach a little bit down the list here because he's thought of as a third round pick, but a lot of people think this guy is the best tight end in the draft. I think they surprise everybody. They take Ben Sinnott, tight end from Kansas State. What they're looking for here is a tight end that has an impact, like the kid for the Lions last year that did really well. Now we come back to the Carolina Panthers, and I think at this point they've basically gotten a bunch of. They got a wide receiver. They got a bunch of good players. I think now that they do something to shore up the front line, the tackle position would be good. Roger Rosengarten is an underrated offensive tackle. I think they take him right there. And now they've gone wide receiver and tackle, and they're finished building out their offense. The Redskins come back again at 40. They got a quarterback, they got an offensive tackle. Now I think they're looking for the best defensive player that's out there. I think they go with Braylon Trice, the edge from Washington, and he will help replace Cross, the guy that they traded to the 49ers or that failed. Yeah. The Green Bay Packers now. The Packers have needs at linebacker, at offensive tackle. They filled the offensive tackle. I think here they go for the best linebacker in the draft, Junior Colson from Michigan. The Texans, the Houston Texans are on the board. What are their needs? Well, their needs are defensive tackle, wide receiver. They can certainly take some wide receivers here. I'm going Devondre Sweat, the biggest monster defensive tackle in the entire draft. A unique guy. There's no other player like him. They're taking a risk, but they're going to go get him. The Falcons. The Falcons. They went edge in the first round. They're going to go corner in the second round. That fills their top two needs. The Raiders are now up. And yeah, the Raiders, they filled up. They took Talise Fuaga, probably the best tackle in the draft. And now they're going to pull a surprise because what they're going to do is there's a guy out there who is considered a third or fourth round pick on most draft boards. He's not going to go that long. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody trades up to 33 to take him, but I don't think the Raiders are going to do it. They're going to sit, they're going to wait, they're going to try, they're going to hope, and they're going to take Spencer Rattler, the quarterback from South Carolina. Yeah, they have two quarterbacks they really like. They now have three quarterbacks they really like, and they have a future at the position. I think that's really important. And it's a disappointment, very big disappointment for the Saints because if the Raiders didn't take him, the Saints were going to. The Saints have done an offensive tackle in the first round. They come back with Chris Haynes, the offensive guard from UConn, in the second. The Colts took cornerback Quinion Mitchell in the first round. Now they're looking at wide receivers. They're going to start with Devontae Walker of North Carolina. Balance things out. The Giants took Marvin Harrison in the first round. Their top needs are wide receiver, corner, running back, offensive tackle. Are there any offensive tackles really left that are worth taking at this point? I say no. I think they just go ahead and go corner. They're going to go Ennis Rakestraw. The Jaguars took a corner in the first round, Terrion Arnold. They now need a wide receiver. How about Ladd McConkey, a quick little, Julian Edelman type as a safety valve for Trevor Lawrence. That makes sense. Now, the Bengals, they went defensive tackle in the first round, or defensive, they went edge in the first round, surprised everybody by taking, well, they didn't surprise people by taking a blue chip guy, Jared Verse. When he falls to you at 19, you have to take him. Now they're looking to come back and get an offensive tackle or an offensive guard. There's nobody really that's got tackle talent at this point in the draft, so they're going to go with the oh, man, this is such a tough call. Such a tough call. Do they go with McKinley Jackson, the defensive tackle, or do they go with Cooper Beebe, the offensive guy? Again, you got to build around Joe Burrow. You get a guy that can block for him. The Bengals go with Cooper Beebe. Now we're on to the Eagles. The Eagles took Jerry Newton, the defensive tackle, in the first round. They have other needs, cornerback, linebacker. I say they can afford to take a risk here at linebacker. They're going to slide on down and take this guy that some people really, really like. And his name is Cedric Gray. The Eagles like Cedric Gray a lot. Now we pop back to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They have invested a lot. They've invested a lot in the quarterback position. So I think that they can still go offense. The question is, do you go wide receiver? Do you go tackle? They took a tackle in the first round, guard, tackle, Troy Fatanu. I think you go ahead and You take a risk. Tight end is not. If Russell Wilson's really going to be their quarterback. Cole Kmet was the tight end for the Bears. Justin Fields found him 72 times last year. If Justin Fields is your future, Jatavian Sanders is the guy. If Russell Wilson is your future, then Keon Coleman is your guy. It's just such a hard call. Coleman has more potential, so I'm going to take a wide receiver, Keon Coleman, right there. The Rams, they needed a corner, they needed an edge. They got an edge in the first round. They need a linebacker, they need a defensive tackle. They need an offensive tackle. I think that they are going to continue to build the defensive line here, and I think they are going to move on down and take Rook or Horoho, the defensive tackle from Clemson, who just tested out magnificently. He's marvelous. The Eagles have taken Johnny Newton and Cedric Gray, 2 defensive picks. Now I think they're looking offense. They go for Jatavian Sanders. That's where the tight end goes. Thank you very much. Cleveland Browns are on the clock with their first pick. They have needs at defensive tackle, offensive tackle, linebacker, quarterback, wide receiver. McKinley Jackson would make a lot of sense here. He's rated 48th. But the guy I like, the guy Dave Barrow likes, the other Seahawk boy, is actually Chris Jenkins. Chris Jenkins, the defensive tackle from Michigan, goes to the Cleveland Browns to shore up one of their bigger needs. Now, everybody knows that the Dolphins need tackles and guards. They got Tyler Guyton, the offensive tackle, in the first round. Guess what? They're going to double down. They're going to go for Zach Zinter, the offensive guard from Michigan. They've really improved their offensive line. They've gotten bigger, tougher, and stronger. The Dolphins are a warm weather team. They're soft. They're going to get harder. They're going to get tougher. The Cowboys come up. They got Graham Barton, the offensive guard from Duke, in the first round. They still have a need at center or linebacker. I'm trying to see. The guy that they're going to go for is on defense, linebacker. I just think you cannot resist Peyton Wilson. He's had some injuries, he's had some issues, but this is a guy with blue chip talent. So you're going to put him in there, put him in the middle, replace Leighton Vander Esch, and you're off and running. Now we're back to Tampa Bay. Tampa took Liatu Latu, the edge, in the very first round. They still have a needed corner. TJ Tampa is there. So TJ Tampa goes to Tampa. Not a bad pick for them. Okay, the Packers pick their third pick of this draft already. Amarius Mims, Junior Colson, some base players. They also have a needed guard, tackle, and safety. I think that would be great, but let's get Julian Love another weapon. I mean, Kalen Bullock, safety, makes a lot of sense here, but there are some really good receivers in this draft that are still hanging around in the second round. I really like Jalen McMillan from the University of Washington going to the Green Bay Packers. Now, the Houston Texans, they took DeRondre Sweat in the first round. They still need a wide receiver. How about Johnny Wilson from Florida State? Boom, they just filled their first 2 needs right off the bat. Now, the Buffalo Bills team needs wide receiver, edge. They took a wide receiver, Adonai Mitchell, in the first round. Now we're going to see Kalen Bullock come off the board right there for the Buffalo Bills. And guess what? The Detroit Lions took J.C. Latham, the offensive tackle, because he's just too good a player. But they also get what they need on the other side. They get Chris Braswell, the edge from Alabama, to pair opposite Aiden Hutchinson. They went offense, they went defense, they did a great job. The Baltimore Ravens, who took Troy Franklin, the wide receiver from Oregon, in the first round, are still looking for an interior offensive lineman. I say we go with Isaiah Adams of Illinois. San Francisco took an offensive tackle in the first round. But is there somebody here that they could surprise with? Is there a wide receiver? Is there a corner? Is there somebody that they might really, really like? I think McKinley Jackson, the defensive tackle, fills one of their needs, fits perfectly. Now we have the Kansas City Chiefs, okay? They needed a wide receiver, they needed a corner. But if you look at the wide receivers that are left, the only one who really fits is Bowman Wilson from Michigan. That fills out the draft. That is the full results. A lot of people got their needs met. And there probably would be some trades in the second round, but we didn't really simulate any of those. So, to review, the Patriots come up and take Caleb Williams. Jaden Daniels goes to the Washington Redskins. Chicago Bears don't settle for Drake May. That was the guy they wanted. They trade down and pick him up. J.J. McCarthy, the Vikings come up from Arizona and get J.J. McCarthy. Malik Neighbors goes to the Chargers. Marvin Harrison goes to the New York Giants. I think the Giants are sitting there going, we got the number one player on our board with the 6th pick. Great deal. The Seahawks come up. They trade first-round picks in 2024 and 2025 to get up to the Titans spot and take Michael Penix Jr. Their problems are solved. They are done. Solved. Dallas Turner, the edge, goes to the Atlanta Falcons. Romo Dunze, amazingly, last to 9. The Bears can't trade out of that. He's an elite player. They take him. He's going to help their new quarterback. Drake May, Brock Bowers goes to the Jets. They snap him up. Byron Murphy, a little bit of a projection, but a talented player that could be a big deal for them, goes to the Arizona Cardinals. Bo Nix, perfect fit, goes to the Denver Broncos. Talise Fuaga, the offensive tackle from Oregon State, goes to the Raiders. Joe Alt, the tackle, goes to the Saints. Quinion Mitchell, the corner, goes to the Colts. Olu Fashanu goes to the Tennessee Titans. They trade down 7 spots and take the guy they probably would have taken anyway. They might have taken Fuaga, but they got the number 2 or number 3 tackle on their board and picked up a first-round pick next year. Terrion Arnold, the corner, goes to the corner-needy Jags. Jared Verse, the edge, goes to the Bengals. They wanted an offensive tackle. There were plenty of good ones there, but they had no choice because Jared Verse was there. Chop Robinson, the edge, goes to the Rams. Troy Fautanu lasts all the way to 20 at the Steelers. Russell Wilson's very happy about that. Tyler Guyton goes to Miami Dolphins. They need offensive line help. That's what they got. Brian Thomas, the wide receiver, because of the trade, they trade up from 23 to 22 with the Eagles. They give up a late third round pick, number 90, I think it was. Pick 90. So they basically dropped from 90 to 108 and traded to come up and get Brian Thomas Jr., the wide receiver. If the Eagles didn't want, they take Johnny Newton instead. The pick they picked up, Graham Barton, the guard center tackle, goes to the Cowboys. Amarius Mims, the tackle, goes to the Packers. Liatu Latu goes to Tampa Bay. Perfect fit for them. Jackson Powers Johnson goes to the Cardinals. They've got 3 first-round picks. Totally shores them up in 3 different positions. Adonai Mitchell, the wide receiver, goes to the Bills. J.C. Latham, the offensive tackle, goes to the Detroit Lions and they may play him at tackle or guard. I'm thinking they're playing him. They have got a great offensive line, but now it's even better. And he's just too good a player for them to pass up. They probably would have traded out of this pick. In fact, I probably should have mocked a trade with somebody else to get out of this pick. But Troy Franklin, the wide receiver, goes to the Ravens. I think these 2 teams are candidates to trade, as are the Raiders, or as are the 49ers, but they took Jordan Morgan. And Nate Wiggins, the cornerback, goes to Kansas City. Pretty much their most obvious need, except after what happened to Rashee Rice. They got to get a wide receiver too. Xavier Worthy goes to the Panthers. This pick could be in play. I could see the Raiders coming up from 44 to 33 to get the guy that they eventually got anyway, Spencer Rattler. People that do these mock drafts on these big boards think Rattler's a 3rd or 4th round pick. Now he's going in the 2nd round. And I mean, look, Will Levis went 33 in last year's draft. The Titans traded up to take Will Levis at 33. Rattler's a better prospect. So if he goes at 33, if Will Levis goes at 33, I think Rattler could too. Darius Robinson, the edge, goes to the Bears. The Bears did a really good job. They got their quarterback. They got a wide receiver to support him. And they got their edge. And probably with their other picks, they're going to be taking some offensive defensive linemen. Cooper DeJean, the cornerback, goes to the Arizona Cardinals, or this corner safety. They need a defensive back. Kingsley Sumatra, offensive tackle, goes to the Redskins. Kool-Aid McKinstry, the corner, goes to the Chargers. Ben Sinnott, the best tight end in the draft, goes to the Titans. The Titans did really well. They traded down. They got a first-round pick next year. They got a starting tackle and their starting tight end. Roger Rosengarten, the tackle, goes to the Panthers so that they can shore up their offensive line even more. Braylon Trice, the edge, goes to the Redskins. They did a good job as well. Junior Colson, the linebacker, goes to the Packers. Fills a need. Tavondre Sweat, the biggest defensive tackle in the draft, goes to the Texans. Kamari Lassiter, the corner, goes to the Falcons. They took an edge, they took a corner. Spencer Rattler falls to the Raiders at 44. I don't think that happens. I think he goes here, but hey, it's just a mock draft. Christian Haynes, the guard, goes to the Saints, and they'll probably look defense from here on out. The Colts come back. They get a corner, they get a wide receiver with their first 2 picks. The Giants get a wide receiver, and then they get a corner. Same thing. Jags took a corner. Guess what? They take a wide receiver. Teams with needs along those areas. The Bengals then finally address their offensive tackle position or offensive guard position with Cooper Beebe. Cedric Gray, the linebacker that the Eagles really, really like over other linebackers in this draft, goes to them at number 50. Keon Coleman, the wide receiver, goes to the Steelers. So they're going to build some offensive talent around Russell Wilson. They got a tackle guard to block for him, and they got an excellent big wide receiver for him to throw to. Rook Orohoro goes to the Rams. They get an edge and a defensive tackle. They're building something good on the defensive side of the ball. Jatavian Sanders, the tight end, goes to the Eagles. They got 3 good, solid players that they can build around. Chris Jenkins, the defensive tackle, goes to the Browns with their only pick, but it fills their biggest need. Zach Zinter slides to the Dolphins, so they got a tackle and a guard. They're done on the offensive line for a while. The Cowboys take a risk. They take a flyer on Peyton Wilson. Graham Barton is as solid as they come. Peyton Wilson is a risk, but God, he has blue chip upside. TJ Tampa goes to Tampa at corner. Jalen McMillan goes to the Packers. They picked up an offensive tackle, linebacker, wide receiver, did a good job. Johnny Wilson, the wide receiver, goes to the Texans because their one guy got injured late last year. Kalen Bullock, the safety, fits in there from USC, fits in with the Bills. They go defensive back, wide receiver. Chris Braswell, the edge, to pair with Aiden Hutchinson, goes to the Lions. They built on the offense and the defensive lines. Isaiah Adams, the offensive guard from Illinois, goes to the Ravens. They get a wide receiver and a guard to help block for Lamar. McKinley Jackson, the defensive tackle, goes to the 49ers. They went offense, defense, baseline stuff. And Roman Wilson, the wide receiver from Michigan, corner wide receiver. We saw a lot of that. A lot of teams had that need, corner wide receiver, and filled it out in rounds 1 and 2. So that is the end of our draft. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I realize the Seahawks thing is kind of a big shock, but let's face reality. The Seahawks need star players to get to the next level, and they need good players. And they only have two players that are top 10 at their position in the NFL, Devon Witherspoon and DK Metcalf. With Penix, they have a chance to get a top 10 quarterback, which Geno Smith is not. He is not a unicorn. Check out the Geno Smith is not a unicorn video. So it's a big move, but it only gives up a first-round pick next year. And they probably would get something back, like a 5th, back in the deal from the Titans, maybe in return for a 6th this year or something like this. There's probably more to the trade, but it gets the job done. And I don't think Penix really makes it to 16. If he does, somebody's going to leap up over the Seahawks to get him. They may as well go up and get their guy. They're set at the quarterback position now for the next 3 to 5 years. And they have a guy who might be good enough to take them to a Super Bowl. Big. That's big. And it's worth sitting out the second round to get that. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up. Thanks for being here. Appreciate all of your would appreciate comments, input, anything. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and tell your friends about it so that all the Seahawks retards out there, the blogging retards who don't understand what it takes to win a Super Bowl in the modern era, just draft another. I mean, literally, there's 7 or 8 picks. The Seahawks have drafted 19 position players the last 2 years, and these same clowns like Numbskuller and Seahawks retard Nelson, they want to spend another 7 or 8 picks on position players and not take a quarterback. That's like almost 30 straight picks without taking a quarterback since you traded away Russell Wilson. No. Go get your quarterback. He's right there. I feel like Penix is QB1 in this draft in terms of his talent. If this was the NFL of 7 or 8 years ago, 10 years ago, where a pocket passer with an arm was considered, the be all end all, where running around and mobility and stuff wasn't as important. If this was 2010, I think Penix goes number 1, even with these same other quarterbacks on it. Goes number 1 overall. He's got better arm talent than Trevor Lawrence. He went number 1 overall. He might have a better arm than Joe Burrow. He went number 1 overall. He's got a better arm than Justin Herbert. He went 4 or 5 overall. 5. Wow. Big move. But it fulfills the most important need the team has. All right. Thanks for being here. Love you guys. See you next time on the Seahawk Boys, Fearless and Stupid NFL.